All right, so taking a look at the projected lineup here for the New York Yankees, you throw Juan Soto into that 2 spot. Does this look good to you, Bo?
It looks really good. And one name that you don't see on here that came over in this trade is Trent Grisham. And I really believe that he's going to play a major role when you start to fast forward with the New York Yankees. Yes, you know that Stanton has missed time throughout the course of the years, but here is a piece to this trade. He's an elite defender in center field. It's pull power in Yankee Stadium. When you start to look at the upgrades that the Yankees have made to their overall defense, you know, this is really going to bode well for the rotation and for improving the overall team defense.
You know, it's interesting when you think about Grisham's arc as a player. You know, he was more of a contact hitter, a guy who hit for a higher average as a minor league player, and you thought you were going to see that in the big leagues. But looking at his year last year, he's a guy who doesn't hit for a high average, but has some pop. So that should really work in his favor in Yankee Stadium, at least for the home games. I think he's going to play a big part as well. What's interesting is they've been aligned at the hip, both Soto and Grisham. Remember 2019, the wild card game, bases loaded, Soto hits the base hit
yes.
that somehow wormed its way past Grisham, and all 3 runs scored, and here and they're now traded to the Yankees. I think Grisham's going to play a big part. At some point, I know Judge can play center field, and he plays it at a high level. But he is a big-bodied dude, man. And to play him in center field all the time, I think is a lot to ask, especially when he's so good in right field. Grisham will play a big role.
How about Alex Verdugo? The Yankees also get a guy like that coming from the Boston Red Sox. How does he fit into the mix in New York?
Well, when you think about Verdugo, I think this is like addition by subtraction. He played really well against the Yankees. So if you're the Yankees, not only are you taking away from one of your division opponents, you're adding to your ball club. And when you look at Yankee Stadium, I always said this, you almost want to have a second center fielder in left field just because of the amount of real estate that you have to cover. But I agree with you when you start to think about just the configuration of their defense. Having Verdugo set in left field, having the luxury of starting the Grisham, you can actually now monitor Stanton's workload and give him days off where you can slide, whether it's Judd or Soto, into the DH spot and still get Grisham his at-bats.
What did they need? They needed to get away from a heavy right-handed dominant lineup. They needed some left-handed bats. They needed some left-handed bats in the outfield. They accomplished all of that, especially with bringing Soto, one of the best hitters we have in the game.
Yes. All right. Well, there were 2 teams involved in this trade. So let's talk about the San Diego Padres. And from a financial aspect, they free up about $38 million per year on that payroll. But where do they go from here? What is coming back to San Diego in return in that deal?
Well, one, they're getting pitching back. And when you look at the number of pitchers in which they lost, and when you start to think about losing that many innings, the last thing you want to do is to go into a season where you have a championship roster, but you're dependent on minor league guys to fill those innings. This trade brings them back the experience that they were looking for to eat up those innings, and they're probably going to end up getting somewhere from, I would say, 175 to 200 innings from King, who, by the way, when he moved into the rotation with the Yankees, it was a breath of fresh air for a team that was struggling with a lot of injuries. He actually moved from the bullpen into the rotation and gave them quality start after quality start. So the Padres accomplished both of their goals. One, getting arms in return and giving them the financial flexibility to fill the other holes on their team so that they can put together a competitive ball club.
You know, you're right, Bo. At some point, you got to cover 1,450 innings or so. And to get all of these 4 arms that have some experience in the big leagues. King, of course, is the best prospect with maybe the best stuff. But you can see, as far as San Diego's concerned, they're not going to re-sign Blake Snell. They got to replace some of those excellent innings that Blake provided them in his Cy Young year. More importantly, I think that when you are over a rock like A.J. Preller was, with a player like Soto that you have to trade. When you have to trade a guy that's kind of a rental for a team, unless they can re-sign him, it's hard to get prospects in return. Mookie Betts trade, of course.
Yes.
Now, David Price was involved in that, taking that contract. It's a little different trade. But to be able to go out and work with the Yankees and get back this many prospects and that many arms, it's a win for Preller as well.
How about the timing of the deal for the Padres?
The timing of it is perfect. When you think about what A.J. Preller was able to pull off and getting the return that he did receive, a lot of it has to do with the fact that this trade was made during the offseason. You heard the Padres say they had as many as 10 teams that was in on Juan Soto. Sometimes teams make the mistake of knowing that they have this player, he has 1 year left, we're probably not going to be able to sign him long term. They hold on to the player, and now you get into the season, and that 10 teams that was interested in the offseason where you have a big pool, now that's down to 2 or 3 teams, and you don't really get the return that you were looking for. I think the timing was great.
Great timing, and it also tells you a little bit about how the Yankee front office feels about their ball club. A rare down year last year, and a lot of times you just assume the Yankees are going to be a 95-plus winning team. Maybe they saw that they had some more holes than they needed, or that they had, and they decided instead of the half year you would get from Soto, they needed him for the full season.